Hello everyone, welcome to the series on Canterbury Tales, and in this video we are going to examine the symbolism used in the prologue to The Wife of Bath. Introduction. The prologue to The Wife of Bath's tale in the Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer is rich in symbolism, much of it reflecting the wife's character, beliefs and her critique of medieval social norms, especially regarding gender roles, marriage and sexuality. Chaucer uses symbolism in her prologue to deepen our understanding of the wife of Bath's unique personality, her defiance of convention, and her role as a social commentator. Here are key symbolic elements within her prologue. Red clothing and scarlet hue. The wife of Bath is described as wearing hosen of fine scarlet reed, that is, fine scarlet stockings, a striking color in medieval society associated with passion, boldness and sensuality. Scarlet red symbolizes her sexual vitality, pride, and her departure from societal norms that expected women to be modest and chaste. In this context, red can also represent the wife's awareness and acceptance of her own desires, openly expressed rather than hidden. Her clothing becomes a statement of self-confidence, autonomy, and, in some sense, defiance. Barley bread versus wheat bread. The wife of Bath uses the symbolism of bread, comparing herself to barley bread in contrast to white seed of virgins. Wheat bread associated with purity was typically reserved for the higher classes and clergy, while barley bread, more common and rough, was often consumed by ordinary people. By aligning herself with barley bread, she symbolically distances herself from the ideal of virginal, saintly purity and instead associates herself with a natural, earthy, and accessible femininity. This distinction suggests that her experiences, though not saintly, are nonetheless valuable and fulfill a necessary role in society. Sexual equipment as divine instrumentation. The wife of Bath refers to her sexual instrument and body as a God-given tool, symbolizing her belief in the legitimacy of marital sexuality. This language, normally reserved for instruments of worship or divine service, transforms her body into a sacred object in her worldview, suggesting that her use of it in marriage is divinely sanctioned. By symbolizing her body in this way, she subverts traditional religious ideas that viewed the female body with suspicion and objected to women's sexuality unless confined to procreation. The reference to marriage as a debt. Throughout her prologue, the wife of Bath discusses the concept of marital debt, a symbolic term drawn from the Apostle Paul's teachings, in which spouses owe each other physical intimacy as part of their marriage. She reclaims this idea of debt to emphasize her rights within marriage and demand her share of pleasure. This debt symbolizes mutual obligation, but also her claim over her husband's bodies, as she believes they are bound to satisfy her desires just as much as she is bound to them. This reversal of expected roles underscores her challenge to male authority. Biblical and classical allusions as a symbol of knowledge and authority. The wife of Bath frequently refers to biblical and classical stories, including those of King Solomon, the Samaritan woman, and Saint Paul, symbolizing her depth of knowledge and awareness of religious texts. However, she uses these references to support her own arguments, twisting traditional interpretations to her advantage. This symbolic act of referencing religious and classical figures places her on an intellectual level with scholars and clergy, while also making her appear as a figure of authority, especially for her female audience. Her reinterpretation of these figures challenges the monopolization of religious knowledge by men. The symbolism of power and control. The wife's statements about her marriages are rife with symbols of control and dominance. She calls her husbands her debtor and my thrall, that is, debtor and slave, and claims power during all my life upon his proper body and not he. Lines 158 to 159. Positioning herself as the authority over her husbands. This language of mastery, debt, and servitude symbolizes her reversal of conventional marital roles, challenging the expected power dynamics of the time. The wife of Bath, by assuming power over her husbands, becomes a symbol of female agency and control within a society where such control was usually in the hands of men. Her deaf ear as a symbol of resistance. Chaucer tells us that the wife of Bath is partially deaf, the result of a blow to her ear by her fifth husband. Her deafness becomes symbolic of her defiance and her resilience against male authority. The blow, intended as punishment for her perceived disobedience, ironically leaves her resistant to hearing the patriarchal criticisms he reads from his book of wicked wives. Her deaf ear thus symbolizes her selective attention to the voices of authority, representing her resistance to internalizing oppressive narratives about women. The pilgrimage as a symbol of social critique. In the Canterbury Tales, each character's pilgrimage is symbolic of their journey through life and, more specifically, the paths they choose within societal constraints. For the wife of Bath, the pilgrimage to Canterbury offers her an opportunity to tell her story, assert her beliefs, and critique the societal norms that confine women. Her journey thus symbolizes her larger purpose of questioning and redefining traditional views of marriage, female sexuality, and women's rights. The motif of experience versus authority. One of the central symbols of the wife's prologue is the contrast between experience and authority. By placing her personal experiences above textual authority, she symbolizes the tension between lived experiences and academic or religious dogma. This recurring theme of experience over authority underscores her beliefs that a woman's lived reality is equally, if not more, valid than scholarly writings. This symbolic juxtaposition calls into question the reliability of written authority, especially when it is used to enforce rigid gender roles. Animalistic symbols, cat and horse. The wife of Bath uses animal symbols such as the cat and the horse to reflect the expectations and contradictions of female behavior. She says women are like cats who desire freedom and not stay indoors if their skin be sleek and gay. This cat metaphor symbolizes her belief that women, if given the opportunity, will seek independence and pleasure. Likewise, she compares herself to a horse who can bite and whine, symbolizing her assertive and untamed nature. These animal symbols reflect her defiance of traditional roles and her refusal to be controlled. Conclusion. In The Wife of Bath's Prologue, Chaucer symbolizes rich symbolism to develop the wife as a complex character who embodies strength, sensuality, and a defiant spirit. her use of red clothing, religious allusions and references to breed types contrasts purity with experience, presenting her as a woman unafraid to embrace her identity in opposition to societal expectations. Each symbol in the wife's prologue reinforces her critique of the constraints placed upon women and reflects her efforts to claim autonomy, agency, and dignity within her society. Through her symbolic language and bold character, Chaucer presents the wife of Bath as a powerful and assertive figure, challenging the traditional values of medieval society and adding depth to her role as a social commentator. So this was the discussion on the role of symbolism in The Wife of Bath's prologue in the Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer. We will meet in the next video and discuss some other aspect of this tale. Until then, goodbye and thank you.